Welcome to the Mystery Signal.
I never believed in ghost stories. I grew up hearing people in my town talk about Blackwood Cemetery like it was cursed. Everyone had a different story. Some claimed they'd seen figures walking between the graves after midnight. Others said they'd heard someone calling their name even though no one was there. I laughed every time. Looking back, I wish I hadn't. It happened about 2 years ago. I had just finished a late shift at a warehouse on the edge of town. It was almost 1:30 in the morning, and my phone battery was barely hanging on at 6%. I had two choices: walk 40 minutes around the cemetery, or take the shortcut through it and be home in 15. I chose the shortcut. The old iron gate was already open. That should have been my first warning. People always said the cemetery caretaker locked it every evening before sunset. Still, I walked in. The gravel path crunched beneath my shoes as the gate slowly creaked shut behind me. I turned around. There wasn't any wind. I told myself it was just old hinges. The cemetery stretched farther than I remembered. Hundreds of weathered gravestones disappeared into the darkness beneath enormous oak trees. Everything was silent. Too silent. Not even crickets. Not even distant traffic. Only my footsteps. About 5 minutes in, I noticed something strange. Every grave seemed old. Not just old, forgotten. Names had almost disappeared beneath moss. Flowers had turned into piles of dust. Then I saw a fresh bouquet of white lilies. They looked like they'd been placed there only hours earlier. Curious, I glanced at the headstone. The engraving made my stomach tighten. There was no name, just one sentence: "Don't follow the light." I laughed nervously. Someone was obviously playing a prank. I kept walking. A minute later, I saw it. A lantern, far ahead between the trees. Someone was slowly walking through the cemetery, carrying an old oil lantern. Finally, another person. I called out, "Hey!" The figure never answered. Instead, it kept walking, at exactly the same pace. Not faster, not slower. I figured it had to be the caretaker. So I followed. Every time I thought I was getting closer, the distance stayed exactly the same. That's when I realized something else. I hadn't seen the cemetery gate for several minutes. The path behind me looked different. I checked my phone. No signal. Battery, still 6%. That made no sense. I'd already been walking for almost 20 minutes. The battery hadn't moved. Then the screen flickered. The time read, 2:17 a.m. I looked away for 1 second. When I looked back, the lantern was gone. Completely gone. I spun around. Every direction looked identical. Rows of crooked gravestones, dead trees, fog. No path, no gate, just darkness. Then I heard footsteps. Not mine. Slow, heavy. Behind me, I turned. Nothing. The footsteps stopped. I started walking again. They started too, perfectly matching my pace. I stopped. Silence. I started walking. They started again. But this time, closer. I didn't look back. I ran. Branches scraped across my face while I sprinted between graves. Suddenly, I slammed into something. It was cold stone. The angel statue. I recognized it immediately. I'd passed it nearly half an hour earlier. Somehow, I'd run in a circle. That's when I heard a voice. Quiet. Old. Don't run. It came from behind the statue. An elderly man stepped into view, holding the same lantern. His face looked pale, almost gray. His clothes seemed decades out of date. He stared directly into me. "You shouldn't be here after 2. My mouth was dry. I can't find the exit." He slowly nodded. "I know." Then he looked over my shoulder. His expression changed instantly. "Fear. Real fear," he whispered. "Don't let it see you." Before I could ask what he meant, he blew out the lantern. Everything went black. Then, I heard it. A low, wet, grunting sound, only a few feet away. Something was crawling through the gravel. Not walking, crawling. Its breathing sounded wrong, like broken lungs struggling to work. The old man grabbed my wrist. "Don't move." The crawling stopped. I could hear it breathing, right in front of us. I wanted to run. Instead, I closed my eyes. Several seconds passed. Then the breathing slowly faded away. The old man lit the lantern again. "Call me." We walked without speaking. After several minutes, an iron gate appeared ahead. Morning sunlight spilled through it. I stepped outside. When I turned to thank him, the old man was gone. Only the lantern sat on the ground. When I reached home, my parents were crying. Police cars filled the street. My mother hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. She kept asking where I'd been. I told her. I just walked to the cemetery. Nobody believed me. According to the police, I'd disappeared. 3 days earlier. My phone still showed 2:17 a.m. It has never displayed another time since. A week later, I returned to Blackwood Cemetery in daylight. I found the same headstone, the one with the white lilies. This time, the message had changed. It now read, "He brought you back once. Don't expect him to do it again." And beside the flowers was an old rusted lantern. If anyone tells you never open a mausoleum after midnight, listen to them. I didn't. I was 21 when this happened. There were 4 of Usme, Tyler, Ben, and Marcus. We'd known each other since high school, and like most guys our age, we thought we were invincible. One Friday night, Tyler suggested exploring Ashbrook Cemetery, an old burial ground on the outskirts of town. It had been closed for years after repeated vandalism and mysterious disappearances that locals blamed on ghost stories. None of us believed any of it. Around 11:45 p.m., we parked our car outside the rusted entrance and climbed over the locked gate. The cemetery was enormous. Hundreds of cracked gravestones stretched into the darkness beneath ancient oak trees. At the center stood an old stone mausoleum. Its iron doors were chained shut. Someone had spray painted one sentence across the entrance. "Don't open after midnight." Tyler laughed. "Someone wants to keep teenagers away." At exactly 12:03 a.m., he pulled bolt cutters from his backpack. The chain snapped. The metal doors slowly creaked open. A wave of freezing air rushed out. It smelled like wet stone and something rotten. Inside, a narrow staircase disappeared underground. Marcus immediately wanted to leave. The rest of us teased him until he followed. The underground chamber was much larger than we expected. Stone shelves lined every wall. Some coffins had collapsed. Others looked untouched. Our flashlights barely reached the far corners. That's when Ben noticed something strange. One coffin was open. Inside, there wasn't a body, just fresh dirt. Tyler joked that someone probably stole the skeleton. Then we heard it. A loud thud. The mausoleum doors upstairs slammed shut. Marcus sprinted toward the staircase. Seconds later, he yelled, "They won't open." We rushed back. He wasn't lying. The doors felt like solid concrete. No matter how hard we pushed, they didn't move. Then, every flashlight flickered, one by one, until only mine still worked. The beam landed on the empty coffin. It wasn't empty anymore. Someone was sitting inside. An old woman. She wore a black funeral dress. Her head was lowered. Long gray hair covered her face. No one had seen her appear. She hadn't been there seconds earlier. None of us spoke. She slowly raised one finger, pointing deeper into the underground hallway. Then, she vanished. No sound, no movement, just gone. Ben whispered, "I'm done." We turned to leave again. That's when Marcus screamed. The staircase had disappeared. There was only a solid stone wall where the stairs had been. Panic set in. We searched every room, every tunnel. Nothing led outside. After nearly an hour, Tyler found another iron door at the end of a narrow corridor. Unlike the first one, it wasn't locked. Above it, someone had carved 3 words, "Don't let them out." Tyler reached for the handle. I grabbed his arm. For the first time that night, I actually felt afraid. Before either of us could move, something pounded against the other side. Once, twice. Then dozens of impacts echoed together, like hundreds of fists slamming the door. Something scratched the metal. Slowly, very slowly. Then voices began whispering. At first I couldn't understand them. Then they became clear. Every voice belonged to someone we knew. My mother, my younger sister, even Marcus's girlfriend. They were begging us to open the door. Tyler froze. "They need help." I shouted, "That's not them." The whispers instantly stopped. Complete silence. Then, one loud knock, followed by a deep voice. "Thank you for not opening it." Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, morning sunlight hit my face. I was lying outside the mausoleum entrance. So were Ben and Marcus. Tyler was gone. Police searched the cemetery for 2 weeks. Dogs found nothing. Months later, I visited Ashbrook Cemetery alone. The chain was back on the mausoleum, like it had never been cut. Then I noticed something new. A 5th name had been carved into the family plaque above the entrance. Tyler Harris. 2003, 2025. There was no body, no funeral, no explanation. As I turned to leave, I heard knocking. 3 slow knocks from inside the sealed mausoleum. I thought someone was playing a cruel joke. Then the grave started predicting my future. I never liked cemeteries. After my grandfather passed away, I forced myself to visit his grave every Sunday. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but my grandmother couldn't walk very well anymore, so I went alone. For almost a month, nothing unusual happened, until one cloudy afternoon. As I was leaving, I noticed a freshly dug grave, only a few rows away. The headstone was already standing. That was strange. There wasn't any funeral, no flowers, no family, just a brand new granite headstone. Something about it made me stop. I walked closer, then my stomach dropped. The name engraved into the stone was mine, my full name, even my exact birth date. The only thing missing was the date of death. I stood there for almost a minute, convinced someone had made a terrible mistake. I checked the surrounding graves. Every name belonged to someone else. Only that one had my name. I took a picture with my phone. When I got home, I showed it to my grandmother. She stared at the picture for several seconds, then asked, "Why did you edit your name onto someone else's grave?" I hadn't. The next morning, I opened the photo again. The headstone was blank. No name, nothing. I drove back to the cemetery immediately. The stone was still there. This time, my name had returned. I touched the cold granite. Someone whispered behind me, "Don't touch your own grave." I spun around. An old groundskeeper stood several feet away, holding a shovel. His face looked uneasy. "You've seen it now. What are you talking about?" He looked at the headstone. "It only appears to the person it's waiting for." Before I could ask another question, he walked away. The following Sunday, I returned again. Something had changed. Below my birth date, one new line had appeared. "Your car will break down today." I laughed. That afternoon, my engine died on an empty road, 20 miles from town. I couldn't stop thinking about the grave. The next week, another message appeared. "Don't answer the knock at 3 a.m. That night, at exactly 3, 3 slow knocks echoed through my front door. Knock, knock, knock. I looked through the peephole. No one. The porch was empty. The knocking came again, this time from the back door, then the kitchen window, then my bedroom wall. Like something was circling the house. I didn't answer. At sunrise, it stopped. The next Sunday, another message had been carved. "You made the right choice." By then, I knew the grave wasn't a prank. Every week, it predicted something, and every prediction came true. Months passed. Then one morning, I found the final message. It wasn't a warning. It was a date. Tomorrow, nothing else. Just tomorrow. I didn't go to work. I stayed inside all day, locked every window, every door. I refused to leave. Around sunset, the power went out. My phone lost signal. Then, 3 knocks. Not at the front door, not the back door. From inside my bedroom closet. Knock, knock,
Knock!
I stood frozen. The closet door slowly creaked open. Inside was complete darkness, much darker than it should have been. Then I heard breathing, slow, heavy, like someone had been standing in there for hours. A voice whispered, "You can't hide from your own grave." I ran out of the house without looking back. I drove straight to the cemetery. Rain poured as I reached the fresh grave. The headstone had changed again. The death date had disappeared. So had my name. Confused, I looked around. That's when I noticed another freshly dug grave, only a few feet away. Someone else's name was carved into it. A man I'd never met stood staring at it in disbelief. As I walked past him, I quietly said, "Don't touch your own grave." He looked at me like I was insane. I kept walking, because I already knew he wouldn't listen.